Good morning to all the participants. Greetings from St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering, Nagarkoil. In this pleasant morning, I am happy to welcome you all for the final day of the 1-week hands-on workshop on image processing using MATLAB, which is jointly organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and the Department of Information Technology. On the first day, we discussed about the introduction of image processing and the introduction of MATLAB. On the second day, we discussed about the gray level transformation and image enhancement. On the third day, we discussed about image segmentation and morphological image processing. On the fourth day, we discussed about content-based image retrieval. And yesterday, we discussed about image classification. Today, we are to discuss about image. I like to remain few instructions to the participant as usual. Please mute your to avoid the disturbances. Also, we are recording this program, so I request you to switch off your camera to reduce the internet data. After the talk of the guest speaker, you can ask your queries by two ways. You can type your question in the chat window, and the speaker will be addressing that queries, or you can make as usual. Today we have a simple assessment and feedback at the end of today's session. We will be sharing the recorded video and the PPTs in the FDP official link will be shared by Varun sir during the session. With these instructions, I will invite Dr. C. Seldev Christopher to start today's session. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you, sir. We'll start. Whether it is visible?
Yes, visible, sir, visible.
So today we'll start with image compression. So when you are going for image compression, you must know some background ideas. Then only we can go for programming side. Right? So this is what I'll do. So what is the need for compression? What are the image type, basic concepts of compression? So all this we'll see. So nowadays, you know, the enormous amount of information is stored, right? So if you store as such, it will take more space. That's what we are going for image compression, reducing the size of the storage, right? What is compression? That is, compression is the art and science of representing information in a compact form, so that less memory space is required. That's what the goal of image compression is to reduce the amount of data required to represent a digital image. Why we need that everybody knows, since nowadays we have disk capability now of 2 TB. So earlier in 2000 and all, we have just a computer PC, we'll have just 20 GB. So it has increased by 100 times. And the transfer rate, if you see here, it is also increased by 100 times, right? So even though that is increased, but the data storage we record is much improved. That is, nowadays we want to store millions of data when compared to in 2000. Everybody is using net. Everybody is using YouTube. Right? You may know YouTube videos are nowadays very much increased. right? So all this made the thing that we have to go for a image compression methods. Right? So let's say that if you consider a simple example here, right? So one sentence is given. Your wife Helen will meet you at. So a small sentence is given. So how we can reduce this one? Right. So example, this one we can reduce in you have reduced by two words you have reduced. So you can reduce much words. See here, just by a simple way we can represent the same thing. We can do it here in compression. Actually, it must mean that one that may be my last, isn't it? So at which time? It's not at 5 minutes past 6 p.m. means it's 6:05, but that is not mentioned here. So that's what the same thing in image also that you call the image also that will occur. So that is called as error there, right? So that's what when you are going for lossy, that's what lossy. They will get some loss. That's what you call it as lossy compression. So these are all the source of images, various source you must have studied. And when you are going for textual data, we can have a universal compression. But when you are going for different images, no universal algorithm will work. So JPEG, no, that may work in a good way, but that we cannot say it as a universal. So for every image, certain method will be good, certain compression method will be bad. So accordingly, we have to do. That's what we need special algorithm for images. So the main concept of compression is data redundancy. That is, it must provide no relevant information. Data redundancy means what? That you'll see here. So when the same piece of data exists in multiple places, so what happens? So if you are using the same word or same thing again and again, what happens is that is you are wasting the storage space. That's what here in compression takes care of, right? So that is when you are using the repeated version, that will can be reduced, right? That's why data redundancy can cause data inconsistency. So the main aim of compression is to reduce the data redundancy. Right? When you are going for any compression methods, even image or texture, anything or text or anything. So for main thing they will go for is to reduce the data redundancy. The main aim of image compression is this one, to reduce the data redundancy. Right? When you are going for redundancy, data redundancy, we can have three: spatial redundancy, temporal redundancy, psychovisual redundancy. So in spatial redundancy, what you have is spatially. So this much bits is required for storing this particular image. So that storage space we can reduce, right? By reducing what, by using, that is here we can go for coding redundancy and interpixel redundancy. So two types of redundancy we have. When you are going for spatially, we are considering the spatial redundancy. So here, when you consider this image, so whether there is any information here, so the same blank, all are repeated. So if you store if its size is 1000 cross 1000, so how much it comes? So very huge amount of data will have. So each pixel will represent by 8 bit. So the same image can be represented in just size. Just you specify the size and the pixel value. So the same value is repeated again and again, right? So this is what. So here you can see in this image easily can remove the spatial redundancy, right? So if we consider the image like this, what about this one, right? So here each and every part See here. So they are different. So in such cases only you will go for interpixel redundancy. So what you do is you will compare pixel and the nearby pixel. Based on that, we will have a interpixel redundancy, through which we can reduce the through which we can go for compression. Next one is temporal. Temporal normally occurs in videos. Right? So normally when you have one video and the next frame, there will be just a small difference. Only the moving object will vary. So if you get the moving object, what is the position now? What is the previous position? Only if you describe that one, automatically we can reduce the redundancy in this case. Then psycho-visual redundancy. So human visual system, you know that a small difference in it will not affect the human visual system. Suppose if you are representing by 8-bit, the same image if you are representing by 7-bit, there will be no difference, right? So automatically what we have done, we have removed 1 bits per pixel. So when the image size is so big, see how much bits you have saved, right? So this is what we call the psycho-visual redundancy. So when you are going for psycho-visual redundancy, so different sensitivity have different information. So we receive some part of the image. So what happens? Our brain completes the rest by imagination or something, right? So automatically when you are going for any compression, right? So we'll consider this 3, right? Psycho-visual redundancy, spatial, and temporal, right? So normally these 3 are the major thing. There are many other redundancy also there, but in general we can have these 3. In spectral redundancy is also there, right? Next thing is, so if you perform a compression, so how will you know my compression is good, and how will you know this compression, whether the output you have got is good? So for that, you must have some criteria. That's what we call as fidelity criteria, right? So it measures the closeness of the image with the original image. How close? If you compress an image, the compressed image plus the original image, how it looks. That similarity you must know. Then only you can say this compression is good and this compression is lossless compression. This is lossy compression. Likewise, you can go. Right? So the criteria is subjective based on human observer, objective, mathematically defined criteria. So for this only we'll have. So there are different ratings here from unusable to excellent. Right? Different criteria we can have. So based on some bit rate and compression ratio. So these 2 we have with respect to how much compression you have done, right? So bit rate means, so bits per pixel you represent by normally 8 bits per pixel. Now you can reduce. I told you when you are having 7 bits also, there will be no change in the visual system, right? So in such cases, you have reduced 7 bits per pixel. Originally, it will be 8 bits per pixel. Likewise, you can do. So that's what bit rate, and compression ratio means how much you have compressed. Right? Whether you have compressed 95% compression I have got, or just 5% compression I got. Right? That depends upon the compression ratio. Right? When you are going for lossless compression, so compression of 95, just 5% compression is also good when you are going for lossless. When you are going for lossy compression, we can go up to 95, right? So 95 also we can go based on the application we are going for. So we can go. Right? And also here next thing is when you want to compare, so previously I have seen both the compression ratio, then how is the quality of the image you have compressed. After compression, you will just decompress the image and you will compare with the original. So in such cases, what you can go for is mean average error, mean square error. So from mean square error, we can calculate peak signal to noise ratio. So here it's given wrong, so it's peak signal to noise ratio, PSNR, right? So all this we can measure, right? So other issues, these are some of the other issues we have, right? I am not going very deep into that, right? So we will go for human visual system, right? So human eyes is less sensitive to prominence than to luminance. So when you are going for a color image, right? So the color information, if lightly color information changes, you'll never be able to see. But the luminance means if the light information changes, then only you'll say, oh, this is not good. Right? So that's what given here. Human eyes is less sensitive to prominence, right? But rather than luminance. So, and less sensitive to high and low spatial frequency, and rather to mid spatial frequency, right? So that is it is less sensitive to high and low spatial frequency, but in mid spatial frequency is important, right? So I'm sensitive to quantization distortion, right? Quantization means suppose if you are changing the level, so then if the quantization error are more, automatically it is very sensitive, right? So here, so why I'm stressing on this three is based on this three only you will have almost all the compressions, right? So these are some of the classifications of compression, right? First we have lossy compression, lossless compression. Lossy, you know, lossy means suppose if you have done your compression and again if you are retrieving the compressed image, if there is when you compare with the original, if there is many losses means it does not just equal to the original, then we call it as lossy. Normally for medical images, you never go for lossy compression. You always go for lossless, where you will get the exact original image after decompression. Right? That's what we have, lossy and lossless compressions. Then we have another classification also, spatial methods. So where you never use any transforms, you do it in the spatial domain. Then we have a transform domain where we perform DCT, DFT, or DWT, discrete cosine transform, discrete wavelet transform, or discrete Fourier transform. We will do, right? We do for compression. Then in hybrid methods, where we use both methods, that is spatial and transform methods, are mixed together. That is in case of hybrid methods. So there are some other classification also given. We have just in a simple way I have classified here. So here we have first lossless compression methods. So these are some of the lossless compression method, right? So I will concentrate only on lossless and loss, right? So in lossless compression we have LZW, Hoffman coding, run length coding, arithmetic coding, predictive coding. So all this you must have studied, right? So LZW coding. So where you use dictionary of code words, right? So where this particular LZW is used in GIF and PDF file formats. for compression. So in that particular 5-format compression, they use this LZW coding. Then you have the Hoffman coding. So all this you must have really known about this one, isn't it? Hoffman coding, run length coding, then arithmetic coding, then run length coding, then predictive coding. Right? So this predictive coding is where we'll use most of the things. That is, in predictive coding, what you have is, first what you will have one pixel. From the neighboring pixel, you'll predict what is the what will be the next pixel, or this current pixel. Using the neighbor, I will predict what is the current pixel. So you'll subtract that particular current pixel with this predicted value. So you'll get some error. So only if you transmit that error, it's enough. So if we have value 240 here, the current pixel value is 240. So your predicted value is 238. So what you do is subtract. Subtract what is the value, you'll get just 2. So only 2 will try to transmit. 2 is the compressed value. So in the receiver side, what happens? So you only predicted, you'll do prediction there. Prediction will get us 238 plus this error 2. Automatically we'll get the original. So that is in case of DPCM, predictive coding. Right? So first we'll do one programming in run length coding. So everybody knows what is run length coding. Just a demo only. That is, we cannot. It's a very simple program we have. So what you do is you're reading this program. Run length, you know. Run how many runs? Suppose if we have one has occurred how many times? So you'll store it there. Next element 2 has occurred how many times? So you'll have. Right, because how much time and what's the length there, right? So if 2 has occurred 5 times means 2 comma how much run, that is 5. 2 comma 5 will transmit. Then 5 how much times? 5 comma run. So likewise you'll have, this is what you have is run length coding. So this best example I given here is, first what you do is, you are reading a cameraman 30, right? Then you are showing it outside, and you are getting the size of the image. You are leading the cameraman into variables n comma n, right? So next thing is you are getting the total size of the image n. N is m cross n means how much length you will get, right? So first when you are going for the length, make it as a vector. Vector means, so when you are going for in images, what will be the vector? Vector will be, when you are converting a two-dimensional into a single dimension, or in a single row when you have that elements, we call it as vectorization. In MATLAB, that's what we call as vectorization. Right? That's what you have done here. Reshape into I comma 1 row, and n means you know the size. So if you have 3 cross 3 means that will be 9 elements. So what do you have? I comma 1 comma 9. So the element will be just one row and 9 elements, and I will be converted into a single row. That we call it as vector. So in vector, what will be the my MATLAB? What is the first element? If you want to get the first element, we cannot write as W of 0, right? So first element will always be 1. That's what you have. You are taking the first element, C equal to V. So that's what you get in some variable VA of 1, right? So that you are assigned to another one table, 1 comma 1 equal to C. Right? This is for getting the runs. Then you are assigning 2 variables which you use it in for loop. Right? Next thing is just you are making a for loop for I equal to 2 dot n. Right? 2 dot n means double 2n. Yeah. If C is equal to Vi, What is C? C is the first element. First element is equal to the first element. Then this is the, we call it as run. C equal to C1. C1 equal to C1 plus 1. That means automatically C1 will become 2. Right? So else, so if it's not equal, what we have is C equal to, we are, that is first element will be considered to C. Right? And auto next what we have is that you are storing it in tabular column that we call it as run. So next one it will go to the next element in tabular column, next element. So next element, what is the run? So what we have here is we'll take the first element and check how much time it have, how much time it is repeated. 5 times means automatically 1, 5, right? So then it will go to the next table column, second element, how much time we have. That's what we have this loop, right? That was the loop here. So automatically it goes up to the last element it goes. After that, what you do is store, right? You store and you get the compression ratio now. So compression ratio means you are compressed this, so how much time you know based on this K, right? K into 2, that will be the thing, we'll have it in tabular column, right? So that will be that we are taking this M. So automatically N will be the size of that what's also, we will have this compression ratio N bar N, right? So again, it's the same process you do it in reconstruction. Reconstruction, what you're doing, the same process again. From using the tabular column, how much time it occurs. So you have to so you know the run length. So first element this much time. So that much you have to repeat. Next element how much time. So we make it into a vector again. We are developing from the table a vector again. That's what this program is. Right, just try to run this program. So this is the first program available today. So you go to the program link. So if you don't have the program link, Antosal, can you give the program link? Yes. Right. So you go to the program link, copy that program from there. That's the first program. Try to run. So if you are not you have completed, anybody completed? Just enter, you have finished the programming. Yes, you are completed. Right. Now you know how you are getting the output, right? And compression ratio also is given. Right? So here it is lossless. So you do not want to go for any comparative matrices like PSNR, MSC, right? So you don't want to go there. So you do not want to compare the images. Right? Since it's a lossless, you'll get exactly the same output in the outside after decompression, after reconstruction process, you'll get this exact output. So in such cases, no need for any comparative analysis of or quality check. But we must know only the compression ratio that you have got here, isn't it? Compression ratio. So what's the compression ratio you got? Can you enter in the chat window? What's the compression ratio you have got in that program? So here this compression ratio, so we can see it in the workspace. Yeah, 0.58. Yeah, 58% compression you have got. Right. So suppose here the same space, if you are full of black, only black means under such the compression ratio will get very high compression ratio. Right. So the compression ratio will change from images to images in case of run length coding, right? So now you have seen also this predictive coding also. I told you after prediction, will subtract with the original and the error only will do error only will store, right? That's what you have here. You have predictor, and you subtract. That will give it to a symbol encoder. You will compress that, and only the error you will compress. Simple encoder. Simple encoder we have encoder, different encoder techniques. So that we will use it here and compress the image. In the card, when you are going for decompressed, here is decoder, and you do predictor here. Predictor plus summation will go for decompressed image, right? Next, you go for lossy compression methods, right? So when you are going for lossy compression methods, we have this transform coding, predictive coding, and hybrid coding. So in the transform coding, what you do is, when you are going for when you perform the transform function, that is either DCT, DFT, or wavelet. So based on the energy distribution, so the energy, that is suppose if we, what happens is when you are going for DFT, so the energy will be concentrated on the center and the four corners of the spectrum. There only the most of the energy we have. So when you are going for DCT, we have at the top left corner we have the energy, and it will be decreasing by in a zigzag manner, right? So if you know the energy distribution of any transform, based on that only we'll go to the transform coding, right? So what you do is, first if it's an image, you will divide into blocks. Since when you are going for DFT as well as DCT, so we cannot, as a whole image, we cannot perform. So what you do is, normally using convolution process only, you will do transformation. So normally we will have convert into 8x8. So the whole image will convert into 8x8, and you'll perform transformation. After transformation, what do? You'll have some quantization matrix. Based on that, you'll quantize that transformed image. So if, for example, this quantizer may be here, quantizer here may be equate, what you call it as a rounding or truncation. So this too may do. So if you are getting 0.254, so we can write as 0.25. Using rounding, you can limit the number of elements there, right? And at last you'll do symbol encoder, right? So that is in case of compressed. And next, when you are going to decompress it, the compressed image you are giving to a simple decoder, and you'll do inverse transformation, and you will merge all the sub images. That is all the blocks. So you initially are converted into 8x8, isn't it? The same thing here, you have to merge here, isn't it? That's what thing you are doing it in merging 10x sub images. So when you are going for DCT, this is how the energy will be distributed. See here. So this is the original image. First one is the original image. So that is converted. And if you convert it into DCT, you can see the most of the things will have it here, and in a zigzag manner, the things will go. So you can have, see, this is how we'll have. So you'll have energy. Most of the energy will be there, and then in this manner, it will be keeping on reducing. So here we'll have high quantization. More zeros will have, right? So that's what we have it in the energy distribution. That's what shown it here, right? Concentrate energy into a small number of coefficients. So in most of the things here, remaining things will be zeros, right? Right. So if it is not zeros also, if you are making that as zero, that will have less effect on the images, right? That's what this is the formula for DCT. So normally it is used, this DCT transform is used main thing in JPEG. JPEG you are using this DCT only, and quantization also will do it in it must do quantization, isn't it? So this is a quantization matrix, right? So this is a quantization integers, and here we can see it here, consideration in the program I have given here, right? So what happens is, so it is energy is concentrated only in this area. So why can't you make all this element as zero, right? So if you are making it as zero also, it will work good. Since what happened? So most of the energy will be there. So if you are just taking 8 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 elements, remaining you are making it as 0, you can get the original again. If you decompress it, if you perform inverse DCT, you can get more or less the same image, even though you are making the remaining all elements as 0. Right? So this is the 8x8 I considered. So that's what in the programming. So in the programming I considered. See how much element I have considered here, the mask. So this is a quantization matrix I have used for DCT. So this is the plus program. I'll explain this one, right? So what you do is first you are getting that image, right? So here I get file. One thing here, this one you take when you are going for compression, you consider this one, file information and size. So you get the file information from the directory, and size you can straightly get in bytes. So you don't know when it's stored, when you are storing any data, you must know what is the size in storage on disk. It will show in the property. So that property straightly you can get it in MATLAB using this function, file info.bytes, right? So if you are getting the file information about that image using this file info.bytes, you can get the how much byte the data, that image is stored, right? So after that, what you do is you are reading and you are showing outside. I am show, right? I told you when you are going to perform this DCT, you will divide into 8x8 block, isn't it? So here, in case of that, you no need to convert into 8x8 blocks. What you can do is you can hear that possibility of block product. That's the purpose available. Block product means this particular thing will be block product with the images there, right? So that's what you do. First, you are getting the DCT matrix, right? So DCT, you are getting a DCT matrix 8, right? Next, what you do, you are performing you are getting a block product. So what happens is, when you are performing the DCT, so for each thing, for 8x8, you'll use this one. So first you are making T into a big block. That is DCT transform, you are making it into the size of the image, right? After that, you are masking. This is the mask used for quantization. So quantization means all the values you make it as 0 except, so the first element, zigzag manner. So here you are getting how many elements? 3, 3, 6, 9. Only you are getting 9 or 10? 4, 3, 7, 10 elements you are getting. So remaining all you are making it as 0, right? So even though we are making it as 0, it will work, right? Then after that, what you do, we are block producting that mask with that particular image. Then you are doing I am write operation, right? So I am write, what you do? I am write will write that image in the computer. So what you are writing, I am write, yeah, I2 is the image, that is compressed color image dot JPG. You are writing in this name, JP dot, in this extension JPG, compressed color image. After that, what you do, you getting the information, color information, and you are information means you are want to get the size of the image, right? So this is what given in the second program. Just go through and run the program. So before running, what you do is the image is also I have given that. Image is important. So image must be in the multiples of 8. So if it is not in the multiples of 8, what happens is it will never work. So what you do in such cases, you have to add zeros. Add zeros in order to make it multiples of zeros. So that I have not done here. So since if you are doing that process, it will be tedious. Programming itself will become so bigger. So to make it, just to understand, I have taken just 8 cross 8, which is multiplied by 8. Image which is multiplied by 8, image size, right? So that you'll never get any error here, right? So when you are not getting a multiples of 8 image, normally what you do is, so you'll make it as a multiples of 8 by adding zeros on the image, right? Suppose if here the value is the image size is 63 cross 63. So it is not a multiple of 8. So what you have to do, 63 means, what you do, 63 mod 8, what is what value you get? 64. 63 means yeah, 1. So one row and column you have to add. So that row and column will all make it as 0. You will add zeros at the last element, last row and column. So automatically it will become 64 cross 64, which is a multiple of 8. Right? So just for that I have given the images also. Right? Says this block product. Block means suppose when you are going for any images when you are going for compression, what you do is you will divide into 8 cross 8 blocks, isn't it? So as a whole image will never do the process. What you do, first you'll take a first block, 8 cross 8 block, then you'll have a quantization matrix. So what you do, you'll multiply so that all the remaining values will become 0, and 1 we are having, that only will remain. That's what quantization matrix we have, right? And again what you do, you go to the next block, again you will multiply the mass. That's what you have to do. So to make it is as a simple way in MATLAB, we have a block product. Block product means you will consider block only, right? That's what make it as easier in order to run the whole program again and again by just selecting the first block, second block, third block, like that. So we can do it like this, which makes us easy, right? Just run the program. So before running this program, you download the image also. Image I have given there. Image. See here, the last one image is there. So you copy the DCT program as well as the image also. You download, right? Download and store it in the location where the program you have written the program. Otherwise, you have to. You don't know where you downloads. Normally, it will be downloads. If you download it, it will be download folder. So you can check it where you take it from there, or you store that image in the location where you have stored the program, the directory where you have stored the program. So if I executed the program, just to see, so here I have not given PSNR value, it's also given, right? So here the PSNR, do you know the formula for PSNR? 10 log 10 of 255 square by m into size n. That's also performed here. So that I have not given in the this here. I have calculated the size as well as you have calculated the MSE, mean square error. Right? From the mean square error, you have calculated the PSNR. Have we got that output? So one thing you change in the program, now only I saw it in the last one. For getting the PSNR equal to 10 star log 10, 255 star 255 divided by greatest not m into n, you can say change to MSE, not m star n, you change that to MSE. Right, that's the formula 10 cross log 10 255 square divided by MSE. So MSE are calculated in the previous slide. So you write that as MSE. Right? Not m cross n, this is MSE. Change in the program and just run. So another one thing here is I have not included the compression ratio also. Can you calculate the compression ratio? So here you know that for file there you get. So here from the file information size, the first size you will get as image of the original, and size 2, no size 1, you get the size of the compressed image, right? So we can divide by size 1 by size 1 by size, you get the compression ratio. Right? So that also you do. You find the compression ratio also. Just manually also you can do. So you can we can make command window as a calculator. So you know what is size 1 and size, isn't it? So how much time it has been reduced. You can see it clearly, isn't it? So image original size is 28,000, no, 2,86,352. But in size 1, we are getting in just 1,000, 21,267. That much we are reduced, right? So you are getting a very high compression ratio here. I'll get it here. So now you have executed that program. Have you seen the size 1 and size and size 1? Right? So you can see, isn't it, size? Yeah, so and compression ratio, also you see it in the command window, right? PSNR, right? So this is what you do: size of the original file by size of the compressed file. That will give the compression ratio, right? Yeah, you are getting MSC high value. That since this is lossy compression, you'll get more lossier. So when you are going for any transform based, one thing listen. So when you are going for transformed based any compression method, you first must know the energy distribution of that particular transformation. From that only, normally we can perform the compression. After getting the energy distribution, you design by your own how you can go for a quantizer for that particular, right? How you can get the quantizer for that particular uh, transform, right? So first get the information, energy information of that particular transform, and accordingly you will select a quantization matrix for that particular transform. So in JPEG itself, there are several transforms there. So in JPEG we'll have JPEG as well as JPEG LS is there. Right? JPEG lossless compression is there, JPEG compression is there. So in JPEG itself, the different compressions are there. Right? So based on that, based on the DCT and the quantization matrix you use, based on the quantization matrix itself, you get different levels of JPEGs, right? So in JPEG, in certain JPEG, you can fix the compression ratio. I want a compression ratio of this much. Accordingly, you have to select a particular quantization matrix. Right? So here you have considered 10 element remaining as 0. So if you want slight more, I want slight more. That is here the MSC is very high. That is error is very high. So if you want to reduce some errors to a little value, so you can have more elements there. But in the image you cannot see any differences. But when you mathematically calculate, there will be more thing. That is, you are getting a compression ratio of 13.46. Right? It is that is 13 times you have reduced. That's what here. 13 times you have reduced. So normally compression ratio, how will you write is 1:13.46. If the original size is 1, no, if the original size is 13.46, here you will have just 1. 13.4646:1. That's what normally you can represent like that. So next we'll go for lossy predictive coding. So predictive coding can be used as lossy as well as lossless. Right? So in lossy compression, what you do is you'll have a quantizer, you'll have a quantizer. So when you are going for lossless, you don't have this quantizer. That is the only difference between quantizer and what's the difference between lossy and lossless. In lossy, you have the quantizer here. You're able to see a quantizer. Whether my PPT is visible for you? So in chat window, just enter. Yeah, yes, it's visible, right? So are able to see this? So here, you are having a quantizer. When you are going for lossy compression, the quantizer is there. But when you are going for lossless, the quantizer will not be there. That's the only difference. In predictive coding, lossy as well as lossless. When you are going for hybrid coding, you can go for transform as well as predictive coding. You can combine. So normally in video coding and all, normally we use. Right? So there are other compression methods like vector quantization. In vector quantization, what do you do? So we'll first we'll have a code book. Based on the code book, we'll do quantization. Code book means for this particular symbol, this is the code. For this symbol, this is the code. Likewise, we'll have code for every symbol. So automatically, we'll use that symbol here. We'll replace that. Right? So instead of having by representing by 8-bit, that will be vector quantization. It will be the code will be of just 3-bit or 2-bit. So based on how many code we have. So if we have 3-bit, 3-bit means how much we have? 2 power 3? 8. 3-bit means what are just 8 symbols we have. So likewise, symbols we can reduce by using quantization, right? So that is how will you reduce is if you are having 255 levels. So from 0 to 15, you make it as code 1. So 16 to 31, make it as code 2. Likewise, you can quantize. So that particular level, all this value will have just 1. Okay? So that's what you'll have it in code book. So in the reverse side, so always when you are going for vector quantization, here it will be there. Right? So here we are when you are going for vector quantization, a very high compression ratio we can get. Right? Very high compression ratio able to get. So here when you are going for vector quantization, we can see the latest papers and all, they have defined the how you have to design a code book, right? So exactly that is that I have less work in that particular field of vector quantization. I have implemented just I think 7 years before, right? I worked with vector quantization. So nowadays we can refer the books, refer the journals there. So in vector quantization, code book generation itself, we are having several books there, right? So we can refer that, refer the journals there, where they will specify how you can define a good vector, vector code book. So I have given an example program also. Just try to execute that also, right? I have given a program there. That is third program. You can see it in the right. You can see it in the work. That is third program. And the functions also you have to store. you download 3A and B. Both you download, just you execute 3A. That's a program. 3B is the function that is used for this vector quantization. Or just copy it down. That wavelet also I have given one wavelet as well as the function there. Just a demo program only, just for your understanding, a small program. It's not a very complex program, just a small program I have given there. Right? So just download. We can execute later also, right? Just an introduction only I have given. I have not gone very deep into that compression, right? So when you want to do another one thing, when you want to do JPEG compression and all, no need to do any process. Just in a single IM write. If you have the image, and if you write IM write image name dot JPG, automatically JPEG compression will be done. Right? No need to do any JPEG compression there. Right? JPEG standard compressions and all, which is available in MATLAB. JPEG, PNG, TIFF, BMP. So all this thing, what you have to do is when you are storing, just store IM write the name of the image dot JPG or dot PNG. If you write that automatically, the image will be written in that particular format. Right? Automatically, we can perform. Automatically, the MATLAB will perform the JPEG compression or PNG file compression. That compression will be done. Right? So today I'll give more importance to discussion, since in the last day there will be several doubts will be there, right? So let me finish with this compression, a small sense in compression, right? So later also we can do the programming side, which we can copy it from the OneNote. So for you, just I have given that just for our understanding purpose, that is vector quantization and then wavelet based compression and all. Anto sir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now we can go for discussion.
Yeah, sure. Because that will be very important. So the participants, you can ask your queries to the chat window, or you can unmute your audio and you can ask your queries with sir and get clarified. Regarding the recording of the session, we will be uploading all the recording session. Already up to day 4, the sessions were uploaded, and it is available in the in our MATLAB FDP page. I will share the link of that page. So in this link, up to 4th day, the video recordings are uploaded. Within 1 to 2 hours, we will be uploading the yesterday's video, and today's video will be uploaded by the by the evening, and also we'll be sharing all the PPTs in this web link, so you can download it from there. Participants, if you have any queries, please type in the chat window. Both Seldev sir and Andros madam are available in the chat room. So if you have any queries, you can get clarified from them. Seldev sir, there are few questions in the chat window.
Yeah, I am able to see. So first one, texture retrieval. Probably, we cannot. If it's a binary image, whether a repeated texture will be there, I think no texture features will be there when you are going for binary image. If it's a grayscale or color image, there will be possibility of texture features. Right? So normally what you do is will come when you are it's a binary image, will multiply with the original grayscale image in that particular area, white area, will get the texture. That only will get give it as an input, as a texture. Right? We'll now take texture feature from a binary image. Right? So then how will you implement the optimization technique in compression? So the main aim of compression, main aim is the cost of that is main aim is cost of compression and transmission and storage, right? That only are going to do. That is cost of transmission and storage. That is for storage space you have to reduce. At the same time, the cost must be reduced, or complexity, or anything will have, right? So here the optimization will be based on the storage and the quality of the image, right? So that optimization will be there. So when you are reducing the quality, we can go for high compression ratio where you can reduce the storage size, right? So someone has asked lossless and lossy compression, right? Lossy and lossless, which one is best? So that depends upon the application. If you are going for medical application, lossless is the best. But for the other application, other ordinary applications, the lossy compression will be good, since there will get a better compression ratio. And one thing you have to get is only the quality you have to maintain. See that the PSNR number goes very low, right? Accordingly, if you have lossy compression with a very good quality, is the best.
I will add a point there. Suppose if you are going to store your image in a computer, then you can go for lossy compression. Suppose if you are going to store a movie in your computer, you can go for lossy compression. As I told that, suppose it is a medical image, we cannot lose any information from that. There you must go for lossless compression. So according to the application, sir explained it today in the morning session in the first slide itself, I think. So as per that, if you need accurate information, then you must go for lossless. If we are losing something, it is no problem for us, then such type of application you can go for loss.
So you can ask queries starting from the first day itself. So if you want anything more, you can ask. Not in just compression.
I think they are executing the programs in their system.
That you can execute later, since that is available. That will be available. That's what in the program itself I have given a demo program. So what do you mean by, so here can you mean the, what is meant by GA? Yeah, by about the eigenvector. So eigenvector, it's available in MATLAB. So straight away we can get the eigenfeature. So that is very old method based on eigenvector. It will be in 2000, 1990s to 2000. We have many papers related to eigenvectors for phase recognition. Nowadays, we are going for some features from like Irish, distance from the two people. Likewise, we have. Right? So eigenfeature where we can get a co-occurrence matrix. From that we will get the eigenvector. So from that eigenvector, we will normally go for a compression. No, comparison will be good. Comparison we can have when you are going for eigenvector. Nowadays, I think there is less paper in eigenvector. They are gone for just advanced methods. So, Dr. C. Peter, can you give what's my GA?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually, in image compression, genetic algorithm is popularly used for compression. Hello?
Yes, sir, I am able to hear.
Sir, normally genetic algorithm approach is adopted in image compression, sir. Can you able to give a small hello?
Yes, sir, yes. I'm hearing you.
Hello?
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you.
Sir, genetic concept, algorithm concept for implementing image compression, please, sir.
So when you are going for genetic algorithm means optimization, right? So here,
yes, sir.
So what you do is in compression, when you are following an algorithm, so you may be using a vector quantization. We are going for vector quantization. What you do is you will generate one vector code book. So in code book generation, we can optimize. When you don't want to have just instead of 32 code books size, we can optimize to 16. In such cases and all, how to optimize this with less error. So in such cases, that depends upon the algorithm we are using. So based on some parameters, the number exactly in compression, we cannot exactly go for any genetic algorithm, but we can certain parameter we can use this particular genetic algorithm. Parameter optimization, right? Not exactly we can go use exactly on image compression.
Okay, sir.
So this vector quantization, someone has asked. So whether it's clear, sir? No, no. Right. The vector quantization. So in vector quantization, what you do is we'll have some code book, right? So based on the code book, so your best example you can say it as lookup table. You know what's the lookup table, right? So what you do in the lookup table, we'll have the lookup table. What do you have? So for this particular symbol, this is the code. For this symbol, this is the code. Likewise, you have, isn't it? Similarly, we have for in vector quantization. So for each vector means we can consider it as here as one element. For each symbol, we have one equivalent value. So only for representing in the when you're compressing, for this symbol, you'll replace with that particular value what you have given there. So automatically what happens? So this symbol will be represented by for storing this symbol, it records 16-bit. But we have in vector quantization, we will have a vector which is having just 4 or 5 bits means. So that using that 5-bit, we can represent this particular 16-bit vector symbol, right? So that vector code book, that code book will be common to both the transmitter and the receiver side. So you will have the same code book in the transmitter as well as in the receiver side. So in the receiver side, we'll just check. So this is the code. So what will be the equivalent symbol there? That symbol will take it outside. Okay? So using that, we can do. We are doing it in vector quantization.
Dear participants, I am sharing the feedback link in the chat window. See, every day we are getting feedback from you. If anybody want to share your feedback directly, you can share. See, if any of the participants want to share your feedback regarding the topic, regarding the organizing, you can now share with all of us.
Good morning, sir. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. This is Karpanan, assistant professor, Pondian Sir Sri Yadav Engineering College, sir.
Yes, sir. Where is it?
Is it in Sivagangai, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you for your wonderful session, sir.
Yes, thank you,
Actually,
sir.
you are giving a very good regarding image. Actually, I'm doing a PhD in image processing, sir.
Yes, sir.
This
Which area?
for me. Actually, I'm using classification algorithm, sir.
Classification, okay.
Yes, sir. Classification algorithm, convolution layer, rectifier linear rate. That's the thing I have to use, sir.
Okay.
Actually, regarding PhD, is there any doubt? Means can I call separately, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can call me.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. So regarding classification algorithms, classification techniques, actually, I am using a convolution layer, sir.
A neural network.
It's convolution layer and then rectifier linear unit layer, sir.
Okay.
And then based on that, I have to compare the eigenfeature method. Then I have to get the clarification. I have to get the finalized list. Face recognition is best for using classification techniques. That is my PhD. Right, sir. Actually, I have to stuck up in convolution layer for face recognition. Hello, sir.
Face recognition.
Yes, sir. For extracting feature.
Oh, extracting feature. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is it possible to continue that, sir? Or can we use any other layers to add it, sir?
Actually, I didn't got to you.
So if you are using more number of convolution layer along with the stack of convolution layer with the pooling as well as this activation layer, you can extract more number of features. In the beginning, if you are using single convolution layer, you can extract low level feature, and if you are using more number of layers, you can extract the high level features too. And for face recognition, you can instead of eigenvalues, you can use landmark detection. You can identify the points between the distance between eyelashes and everything. That is called landmark detection, and you can use that one. And using that features, you can apply it to deep learning algorithm and you can train. But in CNN, already it will be the features are extracted automatically. No need to give our own features. So if you are using more number of layers, you can get a more accurate results. And you can also refer the existing CNN models. You can use it, transfer learning algorithm, and you can use the existing training models and you can train your data set. And if you have any confusions, you can go on with the other.
Sure. Ma'am, for existing data set, ma'am,
yes.
Can we use the existing data set or can I create a new one? As soon as possible, ma'am. As soon as
that depends on you, sir. First, you can take the existing data set and you can try it. The best example is YOLO. That is the best method for face recognition. And YOLO, that you can read that paper and you can get more idea on that. So after that, you can try with your own data sets.
Okay, ma'am, fine. Actually, I already finished ERE method for face recognition using ORL data set.
Okay.
Can we use for this thing for new convolution network?
You can try it. And you can compare the method which is better one. Like that, you can compare it.
Okay, ma'am. Fine, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation for the past days. And thank you for the organizers, sir. Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the organizers, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Any other feedback from the participants?
So you can please unmute and you can speak.
Okay, since there is no other feedback or queries from the participants, can we move to the end of the session? So dear participants, thank you for your active participation in the 1 week hands-on workshop on image processing using MATLAB, which is jointly organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and the Department of Information Technology of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering. As I already informed you, recorded videos are already uploaded in the official FDP webpage, and we will be also uploading the PPTs in the official FDP webpage. So already I shared the link to you. Varun, can you share once again that?
Yes, sir. Let me share now.
Yeah, already Varun sir shared that link. So please, I request all of you to check that link, and both the resource persons were shared their email ID. So if you have any queries in later stage, you can text a mail to them so that they will be replying to you. Then few more information to you. The certificates will be dispatched to you in the mail you have registered, and you have entered in the all the feedback forms, and we will be dispatching it within 1 week. Varun, can we send it before the next weekend?
Yes, sir. We can send before 18th July.
Okay, before 18th July, you will be getting the printable certificate. We will be sending the e-copy. You can take the printout. Then now I like to thank the people behind this. First of all, I like to thank our management for giving permission to conduct this type of workshop. We are conducting a series of workshop, seminars and faculty development program like this. So we will be sending the notice to you. Also, we will be sharing the notice in WhatsApp, Facebook, digital medium also. Since your email ID is with us, we will be sending the intimation mail to you also. Also, next I like to thank our principal, because he is the motivating drive for us. Without his driving power, we are not able to do that. So I like to thank our principal. Then I like to thank the resource persons, Dr. C. Seldev Christopher and Dr. J. Andros. When I approached Dr. C. Seldev Christopher regarding this workshop, he immediately taken step to conduct everything. He prepared everything, he prepared the presentation, prepared the programs, and conducted it nicely. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful presentation and conduct of the workshop. Thank you, Seldev, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also thank Andros madam. Along with Seldev sir, she handled two important topics in this workshop. Also, I like to thank her because he is one of the joint organizer of this workshop. She is the head of Information Technology Department. Thank you very much, madam, for the coordination and the presentation and the explanation, everything. Andros madam, thank you very much. Yeah. Then I like to thank my organizing team members. There are three members in my organizing team. One is engineer CM Varun, another engineer Drive Jose, another member is engineer M. Anthony Jones Kumar, our system administrator. So from the starting of the brochure preparation and sending mail, feedback issuing, designing, everything. Then after this, sending the mail to you with the certificate, everything will be done by Varun sir with the help of Bright Jose. and with the thank all of them for their coordination. Varun, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, then Bright Joes today he is not available due to his, some personal reason. In his absence, I thank him. Sir, are you online? Oh, some issue with his side. So thank you very much, sir. Anthony, sir, also. Once again, I thank all the participants for your active participation in this thing. Whether Seldev sir or Andros madam like to add anything?
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the organization, as well as I thank Dr. Seldev sir. He is my supervisor, and I'm very grateful to work along with him, and also this DP. So special thanks to Seldev sir. And also I thank all the participants for actively participating and motivate us. So thank you all. To Andrew sir.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Seldev sir.
Yes, sir. Right.
Yeah, any concluding remarks you like to add?
Right. I like to thank the organizer, especially Andrew sir, for organizing this particular workshop. So when I thought of some additional resources, since when I approached Andrews madam, she just say, at the instance I asked her, she said, I'll take the 2 sessions, right? Oh, and also the information is very good, like content was very good. I thought of having it in another session, that machine learning. We can go for another workshop. So probably in future we'll have another workshop, machine learning using MATLAB, right? We can have, right? In future we'll see in another workshop. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Seldev sir, and thank you, Andros madam. Varun, whether we have to give any other information?
No, sir. The feedback form and the assessment form, that will be available only for a few minutes. Okay, so it may not be available for a whole day. So you complete the assessment immediately. Also, the video and all the presentations were shared in the FDP page, which was shared by me earlier. So there you can use all the videos as well as the presentations which are made available there. And if you are having any queries regarding that, you can regarding the certificate issue or anything, you can please mail to us for the mail through which you have got the confirmation. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew sir.
Okay, thank you, Varun sir. So again, to the participants, we will be intimating all our future programs to your email ID. So please check that, and we wish you you must be joining with us for, and I wish you all a success, great success. Thank you very much.
So can we leave?